Hello my fellow Retromaniacs and welcome to Let's Play the Operational Art of War Volume 1 demo version for Windows that came with the Maximum CD magazine cover disc from October 1998. And this game is also called Koger's Operational Art of War Volume 1, 1939, 1955. I don't know who the fuck is Koger. Is he like some kind of a war historian? Oh, it's a game designer. Sorry, I thought he was just some kind of a old general of the era. Anyway, yeah, it's a isometric turn-based strategy game. I think these were quite abundant in the 90s, especially as shareware games. They were quite easy to make, and you know, there are many people who love war strategy games. Personally, I'm not one of them. I could care less about these types of games, but let's give it a chance. So it's gonna be like a hexagonal map, like Risk. I want to have music. Oh, what a shame. Not even battle sounds. I guess that they took too much space. Is this gonna be in a tutorial, or did they expect me to read about the help? Okay. Yeah, there's like different scenarios here. There's like real world scenarios, which I like any war crazy person would know these. Like, yeah, it was there and there, and it was led by General this and this, and the casualties were this and this, and the forces were this and this. Yeah, I don't know anything about, you know. It's like World War II mission. And this Operation Mercury, Germany's largest airborne operation. To capture Crete. I think I've heard of this. In my knowledge of World War II, it's mostly based on like some documentaries and I don't know. This is 55. Hypothetical attack by the newly formed Warsaw Pact against NATO. Okay, so they are like science fiction type of things as well, or hypothetical things, not historic things, battles. France. So I guess you can be on either side, so you can be Nazis as well as the Allies. Attempt to liberate Rome. Jewish settlements. This is very... Anything related to Israel is always timely, unfortunately. Kasserine. Africa. Tunisia. Why is the length like limited? Just 14 turns. That's not enough turns me to learn to play the game. Soviet Spring Offense. Korean War. Communist invasion of Korsun. This is a southern wing. What the hell is Korsun? Maybe I recognize the name if it's used Finnish name. Luzon, Philippines, Japanese invasion. Okay, it's like happening. The whole world is in a play as a play field. Normandy. General Patton. Patton's Nightmare. Haven't seen the movie Patton. I would like to watch that at some point. Are these all available for the demo? I don't know. Well, let's just start at the first one. Maybe it's easier than the others. Oh, there's more. South Front. Predator Uranus. Oh, there's like more stuff here. Okay, there's like history as well. German attack to capture Moscow. Began in October 1941 as the last attempt on the part of the German army to capture Moscow and end the Russian campaign before the onset of winter. Worn-out tanks and exhausted infantrymen were concentrated for one more effort to penetrate Soviet lines and conduct a battle of annihilation, which would cause the final collapse of the Red Army. Initially, against all odds, it looked like success was within the grasp of Army Group Center. The divisions and regiments of the Wehrmacht were so understrength by this point that the encircled Russians could not be contained from escaping the pockets they were caught in. Saddling, what is this? On purpose, or why would this game not even have Stalin's name correct? Satlin advised that the Japanese would not attack his eastern frontiers. He began stripping his Siberian front of fresh winter warfare equipped divisions. German equipment, on the other hand, began to fail for the first time. Summer weight oil froze inside the engines of the mighty panzers, and nails in the jackboots froze toes off the soldiers. Yet still the panzer divisions moved forward, carried by momentum and the determination of the German soldier. Forward elements reached the outskirts of the suburbs of Moscow when in early December the overextended German army found itself on the wrong end of the first major Russian counteroffensive of the war. Okay. Well, it's it's informative as well. You learn about these battles. September 1944, the armored spearheads. I think this is like the difficulty level. The armored spearheads of Patton's Third Army sliced through the French province of Lorraine, the last barrier between the German army's enemies and the Rhine. Since the Allied victory in Normandy, logistics problems had slowed the Allied advance more than German resistance, but now Hitler had decided to blunt the advance. Oh, Hitler! Gathering every available tank in the Reich, the Germans were able to field the 5th Panzer Army. scratch army built of scratch units. Hitler ordered it into a counterattack against the American forces in Lorraine, but as with many of the Führer's plans, the German counterattacks were premature and piecemeal. What is that number? Is that like 53rd Panzer Groups? Was one of these counterattacking units and was assigned the unrealistic task of retaking Nancy. Its main striking force was the hastily organized 111th and 113th Panzer Brigades, understrength and missing component units. They counted on the proven effectiveness of the tanks. Yeah, I think actually this is like 108th. Especially the deadly Panzer V Panther and anti-tank guns. Combat Command A of the US 4th Armored Division lay between the Germans and the optimistic objective, with American attention and resources focused on the fighting to the north. CCA was spread thinly, with the tank companies of Lieutenant Colonel Abrams' 37th Tank Battalion and a battalion of each of armored infantry and engineers, a tank destroyer company, and 3 battalions of artillery. Nevertheless, it was a powerful combined armed force, flushed with victory and experienced in battle. There's lots of text here. In the early morning haze of 19 September, the leading elements of the 113th Panzer Brigade hit CCA's outpost near Lizay, east of Aracourt. This began a 4-day melee of thrust and counter-thrust that would push the abilities of the American tankers to the limit and gut the striking power of the LVA Panzer Corps. Okay. 2-player. Oh, or Korean is available. Okay. 27 to 52 turns. Communists. White on red, gold on red, black on red. United Nations. White on blue, light green. Negro. Or do you have a different? For blacks. If the United Nations drops airborne units into China or the Soviet Union, those countries will intervene in Korea. If United Nations forces enter North Korea, there is a significant chance of Chinese intervention in the war. The chance increases as United Nations units approach the Yalu River and Sinuiju. If the Chinese do not intervene, the game will end in December of 1950 or January of 1951. If the Communists occupy Busan or the Chinese intervene, there is a chance the United, they didn't proofread this at all. United Nations player will be allowed to respond with atomic attacks. Oh no, it's a nuclear holocaust and the end of the end of world. If the United Nations begins making atomic attacks, there is a very large chance that the Chinese and Soviets will intervene. So communist units will start using gas against the United Nations units. If communist forces use gas, the United Nations will respond with gas. Communist guerrilla activity may begin behind United Nations lines in late August of 1950. Korean winters are harsh, be prepared. Bolted by United States post-World War II, this armament and ambitious statements from Washington regarding the level of the US commitment to South Korea, North Korean forces have crossed 38th parallel in South Korea. The communist goal is to occupy all of the Korean peninsula. South Korean and United Nations forces must resist this, and if possible, remove the communist government from North Korea. Well, that didn't happen. As the line of Kim's still proves. Each map location is 15 kilometers across, and each game turn represents 1 week of time. Depending upon your action, the scenario may last as long as 52 turns. The forces. North Korean People's Army is trained, armed and organized along Soviet lines. Some formations are veterans of the Chinese Civil War. The Soviets have provided a large armored force and a small air force of World War II vintage fighters and strike aircraft. The Chinese People's Liberation Army is poorly trained, lightly armed and ineffectively organized. It makes up for these deficiencies with vast number and strongly motivated troops. In 1950s, the Soviet Army is the best equipped, trained and organized force in the world. Fortunately for the United Nations forces in Korea, the Soviets are severely constrained by an abysmal supply network and a healthy respect for the US nuclear weapons. None of the communist armies can effectively cooperate with the others, so they should be used independently. South Korean army begins the war as a slightly armed, understrength, and poorly equipped force of widely variable quality, but it can draw on the large population of South Korea and eventually the vast arsenals of the United States. By 1951, it is a formidable force. United Nations forces are a mixed bag. Most units are provided by the United States, which by June of 1950 has been reduced to a sullen paper tiger. Of all the forces present in this scenario, United States Army units of June 1950 probably have the lowest morale and poorest readiness. Within months, the crucible of combat will transform them into the strongest army in the region. The only United Nations initial advantage is their air and naval forces. They outclass their opponents from the beginning and grow to be a crushing strength by the end of 1950. United Nations units can cooperate effectively, but the South Korean units, except for the South Korean Marines, should be used separately. Negro units. Some unit states this scenario are represented by green and black unit icons. These are Negro units. The US Army of 1950 was officially segregated, and there was considerable racial tension in the force. No value judgments are made regarding these units here, but there is a great deal of controversy to this day regarding their handling and performance in the early days of the Korean War. I didn't know about this. It was this controversy, as well as extensive soul searching in Washington in 1951, that led to the eventual integration of United States Armed Forces. Matthew Ridgway, who replaced Douglas MacArthur as the United States commander in the theater, wrote of black soldiers in May of 1951. It has always seemed to me both un-American and un-Christian for free citizens to be thought to downgrade themselves as if they were unfit to associate with their fellows or to accept leadership themselves. Puerto Rican separatists attempted to assassinate US President Truman in late in 1950. Oh, I didn't know about that either. I guess there's lots of United States history I'm not aware of. Washington's reaction in the highly charged political climate of the early 1950s is difficult to predict. If Truman is assassinated, the United Nations player should keep heightened world tension in mind as he plans his operations. So I guess every time you play this game, it is random probability for like these different scenarios to happen. Like sometimes you play the game scenario and Truman is assassinated, and sometimes he's not. So there's a replay value maybe. Global reconnaissance. The United Nations has a limited ability to detect troop movements behind enemy lines. This ability improves as the scenario progresses. The communist player should not assume that his rear area troop movements are completely secret. Guerrillas. As the North Korean army withdrew from South Korea following the United Nations breakout from Busan, large numbers of communist soldiers faded into the hills of Central Korea to form guerrilla units. If the United Nations fails to garrison his rear areas with small units, communist guerrillas may interfere with the flow of United Nations supplies and reinforcements. The result of the North Korean invasion, the United States began supporting the Bao-Dai government in South Vietnam, setting the stage for the next generation's war. Yeah. And that's like the Operational Art of War Volume 2, which has later scenarios. Okay, let's play this. You know, lots of things to learn. You know, I don't know anything about these like battles, so this is very educational as well. Okay, communist turn 1. Okay, calendar, overforce is 75, special gas. I have no idea how to play this. Oh my god, there's like... Okay, there's like hexagonical map as well. Weather briefing. No precipitation. Okay. Okay, what can I do here? Right. Okay. Pyongyang. Where's Seoul? It wasn't named like that. Daejeon. So Seoul, there it is. I've accidentally selected some unit already. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do here. Current force, communist. Wait a second, am I the communist? I thought I'm supposed to be the allied. Handicap cheat. Yeah, there's a learning curve here. I have no idea. Okay, well, let's see what happens if I select this one and attack there. Probably not a good thing to do. Wait a second, am I really the communist? Seems that I'm the communist. Which side am I? Am I on both sides? Computer player. Oh, okay. Well, communist. Okay, I guess you can play as both if you want. Maybe I should rather play Advanced Wars on Game Boy Advance than this, because it's not like casual for casual players, I feel. Okay. Full report. Is defense, no attack, attack, defense, defense, defense. Oh. 8%, 4%. Replacements available. Okay. Whoa, it's still going on. Well, it's my turn. United Nations forces 48. Oh my gosh. When it's my turn. United States forces extremely personal loss 100%. Did I killed? I didn't even get a chance to play. Still turn 1. Oh, I'm being evaporated. Fuck. Okay, now it's my turn. You have reinforcements. Alright. So does that mean that this takes 3 turns to get there? It's gonna get forever for me to get that far. Okay, you can go faster if you go straight to the city. By roads. Move cost, right click. Okay. 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 Then let's attack. Guess I want to let's put this unit here. Then fight. Then fight. and then fight. And you stare there. No. How do I abort? And then you go there. Plan attack. Man, this is so detailed. Where's my man? No idea how to do this. Okay. Let's end turn. No losses. What? Okay. Yeah, I have no idea how to play this, so there's no reason for me to continue. But it's a, if you like these types of games, it's probably one of the better series. And there's just so much to play. There's like 6 sequels for this, but I'm not planning to learn to play the game, so whatever. Thanks for watching.